This week, in honor of Valentine's Day, today, I decided to do a reading focused still on the week ahead for the collective, but specifically on love and relationships in the experience of the collective for this week, the week of February 15th through the 22nd. So again, as I always do, I pulled one rune and three tarot cards. The first card representing the situation for the collective, the second card representing advice for the collective, and the third representing the outcome for the collective in the coming week. And the rune that I pulled is Hagalaz, which is a pretty intense rune to pull when considering love and romance and relationships. It stands for disruption, elemental power. Hail is actually the element that revolves around Hagalaz. And it represents change and freedom, invention, liberation. So it's about a pressing need to break free from the belief that identity is tied to material reality and to experience the world of the archetypal mind. So that's those are some pretty enormous philosophical theories there, and it's hard for us to separate ourselves from material reality. But those of us who focus on our connection to spirit, of course, are regularly trying to focus on the fact that we are not just physical beings, we are also spiritual beings. And so I think that's kind of what that means. This rune is known as the Great Awakener, Hagalaz, and that awakening will come in many forms for each of us. So maybe you'll slowly come to your senses like someone awaking from a deep sleep. Or maybe the fabric of reality will be ripped away from you and all that you knew to be true also ripped away. Security, relationships, beliefs, which is a scary thing. And it happens to most of us in this life. And that might be the energy of this coming week with regard to love and relationships. It is intense, but you do have power in the situation. You have your inner guidance, which you're really reminded of with Hagalaz. The enormity of this disruption is directly linked to the need for your own growth. So if you're just having a slow awakening from a deep sleep, clearly you're on a lighter path than somebody who's having the fabric of their reality ripped away from them. But both are necessary. Whatever the form is, it's necessary for your own growth. The universe is demanding it. So to me, this very challenging room, particularly in this reading about love and romance, is telling us that we as a society, no matter where we are geographically, tend to have deep illusions about the meaning of love. And I've even had conversations about this with a good friend in the past week. So it's interesting that this comes up with this reading. This week, those illusions may begin to shift, and a pattern in your romantic relationship may suddenly become intolerable, such as avoidance or emotional cruelty. Uh, those seeking a partner may suddenly no longer desire such a connection, or the basis for that connection might change. Divorce, domestic violence, cruelty, dishonor, along with love and hope and togetherness and desire, these things poison the well of partnership for many of us. And this week, I feel that that will begin to shift. And as I meditated on it, I saw a desert at dusk and a young woman in traditional clothing huddling from an oncoming sandstorm. And I think this means that something that the feminine has suffered in the past millennia is the expectation around romantic relationships, both the expectation that the feminine has and the expectation of the feminine in romantic relationships. But I think we're learning that we do not need to accept anything less than ourselves. And if that's not welcome, we will this week, both male and female, rise from the ashes of the fear of stepping away and accept whatever loss might follow from moving on. And those could be enormous losses, or they could be small losses. So for the situation card, I pulled the Hanged Man. So I think that after Hagalaz, this very intense rune, we're in a liminal space this week with love and relationships. That still space where it seems nothing's happening, but there is an energetic pull existing within that space. I think we're being asked to see things differently rather than acting immediately. I think it's the stillness of the disruption of Hagalaz. So there's disruption, and then there's the time after in which we recover from the shock of the disruption, whatever it may be. So the Hanged Man is that stillness. The true work now, the situation of our lives this week is the inner work. No matter where we stand with love, things may feel paused, but we do not need to force clarity, is key. Just breathe and hang upside down like the hangman of the Rider-Waite deck while the energy arranges itself around you. Release outdated expectations of how love should look. And as I meditated on this card, I see a rose before its petals open. It will become the rose that it's destined to be, but right now it's closed. It's preparing. And so will your peace and your happiness this week. So, materially, you may be asked to wait. You may be left out of some great moment, some celebration, some hopeful event. That's okay. No matter what it is, no matter who it is, it's okay. Nothing is expected actually, except the expectations that we create in our mind. So create your own celebration if that happens, and have patience with what is as best you can, and breathe. So for the advice card, I pulled the Two of Wands. So here's your chance to claim your own agency. If you weren't invited to that event, again, choose your own path. Acknowledge what you wish could be and what you want, but don't be held back by your beliefs about what that should look like. Think outside the box. Do you wish to have a connection with someone that is free and open and not full of expectation? Maybe you need to see through your idea of what expectation is before giving up entirely. Do you crave a connection that is deep and personal and utterly aligned? Perhaps you first need to examine your idea of what alignment looks like. Maybe there's a better way. That's not to say that you shouldn't have what you want and feel peace, but sometimes we lock ourselves into ideas and refuse to see the possibilities outside of them. You don't need permission to do this. You don't need validation. You just need the strength to look within and give yourself the guidance you need. So I see two hands clasped, and it makes me think of two people who are completely together, but are also completely independent, a perfect balance of individuality and togetherness. And I think as a collective, we've lost sight of what love is. We've begun to lean on expectation. And this week, we have a choice and we can choose to see things differently. So for the outcome card, I pulled the High Priestess. And this week, the energy of romance and love, I think will settle into that inner knowing that keeps coming up, that emotional sovereignty and intuitive clarity that the High Priestess often represents. We will move toward a place where we no longer hold one another accountable for every feeling that arises, and will instead examine the ways in which we've misled ourselves. We will begin to move toward a reality where we have released one another from the ties that lock us into fear and control. We'll begin to trust our own inner guidance and not rely on others to show us the way. And that includes romantic partners of whom we often have very high expectations. This week, in the spirit of real love, the love of all that is, we will forgive one another and find a way forward, or at least we'll begin to see the possibility of doing that, even if it's very hard for us to do right away. And both those of us who are alone and those of us who are in partnership will do this. It's both. I see as I meditate on this possibility, two divine beings bathed in light, again holding hands and aiming their gaze to God. And they represent what we are capable of. generosity, forgiveness, both for others and for ourselves. So that's what I see for this week. And I wish you all a very happy Valentine's Day. Sending you all love.